Cruising with a toddler is not for the faint of heart, but that's because doing anything with a toddler is not for the faint of heart. Parenting toddlers is not for the faint of heart, all right? So this video, I'll be sharing the pros and cons of cruising with a toddler, what made it a really enjoyable vacation, what was difficult. Overall, we really enjoyed it, right? It's vacation, it's a cruise, it's all inclusive. And we went to Alaska and we cruised Royal Caribbean. However, these tips and most of these pros and cons are going to be applicable to any cruise line and any destination. All right, so let's get into it. So our trip, wow, I said that super weird. Our trip was in August of 2023 on Quantum of the Seas, a Royal Caribbean ship, and it was what they call a closed loop out of Seattle. So we started in Seattle, we went to Alaska, we came back to Seattle. Our trip was not just my husband and I and our toddler, who was 16 months old at the time of our cruise, but it was also my parents and my sister, which is a big tip. If you are able to take family with you to help out with said toddler, that is great, especially at dinner time, meal times. You know, that is a thing that can be hard with small children, eating. So if you are able to have grandparents, in-laws, siblings who don't have kids, especially, that would be helpful. My sister didn't have kids, so it was just our toddler. So 5 adults to 1 toddler is also a great ratio. However, even if you are not able to have that ratio of adults to children, you can still have a great time on a cruise with a toddler. So for Royal Caribbean, one of the pros that was also slightly a con was the childcare. So they offer childcare, and that is great. However, prior to age 3, there is a fee. So it's not free. 3 and up, childcare, the teen zone, whatever, all of that is included, which is great. However, it's not so great when you're having to pay per hour to drop off your little one. But it was still great to have that option. And we weren't trying to leave her for hours. We were definitely not going to leave her on the ship when we went on shore or anything like that. So we did use it a few times, and the fee was nominal. Like $6 an hour prior to 8 p.m., something like that. And then, which 8 p.m. in Alaska or even Pacific Coast time is a lot later in Houston, where we're from. So we were definitely not dropping off the toddler basically in the middle of the night, Houston time. We adjusted her sleep schedule slightly, but not to that extreme where we would be leaving her at that time of night and paying a higher fee. And also, I think it was like $8. So again, pretty nominal. Definitely, if you were going on a cruise, check on those rules and the fees, because they could be different per cruise line, per ship, even within Royal Caribbean, and potentially even depending on the time of year, things like that. The itinerary, if you're going to the Caribbean, it may be different than Alaska, etc. So that was definitely pro and con. Having that option was great. So my husband and I were able to do a few things, sans baby. We were able to have some quiet meals, things like that. However, I also wasn't a huge fan of the fact that in the childcare area, they just had on like Coco Melon. Like, my daughter didn't watch TV at that time, and she still doesn't watch a whole lot. So she was trying to play with toys more, but there were a lot of kids that were just like zoned out. And actually one of the like childcare attendants actually was like, oh yeah, you know, it's familiar stuff, so we put on the TV. And I was kind of like, yeah, I'm sure that's why it is. Like, no, it's just a lot easier to watch toddlers when they're zoned out in front of a screen. So, you know, if you don't want your child having a ton of screen time or any screen time, that may not be a great option for you. So the best thing that was a surprise best thing was our stateroom. So there are different types of staterooms, of course, and of course they have different prices. There's balconies, there's interior rooms, etc. And we were in an extended ocean view room. You trying to come out and sneak by? I'm still recording. Oh, you need more coffee? Anywho, the thing that ended up being a really big pro of our trip that was unexpected was the room we chose. We chose an extended ocean view room, and I'll pop in a picture here. But basically, normal balcony rooms or ocean view rooms, you have bed spot and like couch and desk spot, and then a door into the bathroom and the entry door. This room had a gap of space between the window and the bed, and that ended up being my daughter's play space, which we needed. The space between like the desk and the couch was very small. It's a walkway, it's not a space. So she technically could have played there, but we typically had like junk on the floor, like our backpacks, because we were going to Alaska. So we had like backpacks with gear, the diaper bag, all of those things. There was not a lot of floor space on that side. And the extended ocean view, we were a forward facing extended ocean view. So we were literally at the very front of the ship, which a con of that was that it could be really noisy, because I think we were close to, I don't know anything about ships. We were close to something mechanical part of the ship, which you are on a ship, you're not in a hotel. So like there's noises, there's sounds, there's the horn, all of these things, right? But we were at the front of the ship where the decks tilt like this. So you might be able to tell in the picture that the window, I almost said mirror, what on earth? The window is like this. So my daughter's play space was shaped like this, right? This is the floor. But she was 16 months old. Like it didn't matter that there wasn't a whole lot of headroom because of the window. So it was a perfect play space for her. And you know, even though you're on vacation, again, or actually my con in a second will tie in with this, but even though we're on vacation, sometimes you just, with a toddler, you just need to be in the room chilling. Like they just need their familiar toys in a space that becomes familiar after a few days. We were on a 7-day cruise, so after several days, she knew this is home, right? This was our room. But she could run freely. We weren't having to bring her back. There wasn't like a small playground or anything on the ship. Okay, I'll just go ahead and tell you the next con. The con is that there's not a whole lot of places to be a toddler, to run around like crazy. I'll come back to that in a second. But that space was good because we needed that sometimes, where like my husband and I could just veg out on the bed, one of us could take a shower, one of us could go do an activity if we wanted to. Usually me. My husband likes time to just veg out on vacation. I am more of the like go, do all the things, see all the things person. And he's like, we're on vacation, can we relax? And I'm like, well, is seeing 85 things in a day not relaxing to you? There's one of those, every relationship is like that, right? One person is one person is the other. Anywho, being able to just chill on the bed or let her play freely in that space was a huge blessing that we actually didn't see coming and didn't prepare or plan for or intentionally choose. That was just the ocean view room that was available when we booked. And it was a blessing in disguise for sure. So going back to the lack of activities, there's not a whole lot of activities toddlers, especially 16-month-olds, can participate in anyway, right? Like in general life, unless you're taking them to daycare or a playground or like one of those little gyms tailored to them. So taking that into account, it's not like a huge deal that there wasn't toddler activities on this ship. However, that will vary based on the cruise line and itinerary, right? Royal Caribbean cruises to Alaska, ships that are built for going to Alaska or like the Philippines and Australia, those are not geared towards young families. And that's fine. We knew that going in, right? I packed a ton of entertainment. Take a look. I'll put the link here in the description. Take a look at my video about packing for a cruise. I packed a ton of entertainment, partially for the plane ride, but also for the actual cruise itself. So the things that we were able to do with my daughter, who had only started walking a month before, was let her walk around. So we would let her walk around the corridors, let her walk around like the Esplanade, that's what the promenade, whatever they called it, promenade, whatever. Anytime we could let her wander around freely, we would. There were a couple of like entertainment venues when they're empty, when there's not a show going on, there's just like chairs and tables and things and they can wander around. We could take her to the track to walk around. And then there sort of was actually a little playground. So in the like kid zone, there was the toddler drop-off area, or the 3 and under, I guess that's toddler, the 3 and under drop-off area. And then there was like the middle-aged, you know, the young elementary, I guess is what I'm trying to say. I can't remember the age zones because I did age range because it wasn't relevant to me. I think it was like 3 to 7, and then 7 to 11, and then 11 to 13, and then teenager, I don't know, something like that. Those were all their own zones. And then you had like the toddler drop-off area. But then there was a free play area where parents went in with the kids. So there were toys, there was a little climbing thing with a little slide. It was really cool. I'll throw a picture of that in here too. I believe I have one. Surely I took a picture of my daughter in there. If there's not a picture on the screen here, that means I didn't take a picture, but I'm pretty sure I did. So I'll throw a picture in here. And then one bonus tip, when you are considering a cruise with your toddler, if you're watching this video, you're probably trying to decide if you want to cruise with a toddler, or if you've already decided, a good way to research that is here on YouTube. Go find some ship tour videos, search specifically for your ship, your itinerary, Google it, look at photos of the kids zones and things like that. See what it looks like. Make sure they have this free play area. Don't like assume that it's there. Again, ship to ship, that will change. Itineraries will change. Cruise lines, definitely. That might be different. So that was great. We would let her go up to the track and just waddle around on there. Wander around on there. And then we would take walks in her stroller. We would go out on the decks and look at the mountains, which was great. Being that we were cruising to Alaska and we were in the Pacific Northwest, we didn't use the pool, not with the toddler at least. Like I went in the hot tub, but I did not take my small child into a very cold pool. I think it was heated, but it was closed a lot too because of the wind or because of the ship rocking so much, it was unsafe. So the kiddie pool was not something we utilized, but of course, if you were going to the Caribbean, that's gonna be a very different story. Again, research, do your own research, and consider what your itinerary is going to look like. One thing that I knew would be a con going in and that I prepared for, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about in an upcoming video. So make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications to see all my upcoming family travel videos. All of my tips are family travel. And then if you're also interested in all of my meal planning and grocery savings tips, that is a major thing we talk about on this channel also. But I knew going into it that we were going to have to plan our shore excursions, which is not the right way to say that because we didn't do pre-planned shore excursions because we knew we were going to have to plan around nap time, and also just getting off the ship with a toddler can be a task. It'll take time. So take into account that you are traveling with a small child when you are planning and booking shore excursions. Don't book one that is like immediately after you dock, perhaps, or really early in the morning, or around nap time, right after nap time, things like that. It's going to take you a while to get off the ship with a small child, with any children. It takes a while in general. When my husband and I went on a cruise for our honeymoon, it took a few minutes for us to get ready and get off the ship, okay? So take that into account. So we chose to forego any pre-planned excursions. I researched each of our destinations and made a plan for what we were going to do at each destination, sans pre-booking anything. We did not buy tickets ahead of time, nothing, okay? So we stopped in Canada. We didn't get off. It was like just in the evening, and that was not worth it. It was like a 5-hour port time, which was weird and pointless to me, but whatever. So we went to Sitka, Juneau, and Icy Strait Point, which doesn't matter if you're not going to Alaska, but I just researched each of those destinations, and the only one we did anything that involved actual tickets was in Juneau. We went and saw a glacier, which was really, really cool, but we just got a taxi when we were ready and off the ship and went and bought tickets there. So we didn't have anything with a timed ticket. We didn't have any like tour guides waiting for us, nothing like that. So if you're going to the Caribbean, just get off and go to the beach, you know? Like, you don't need to really plan anything. If you want to do something like a snorkeling tour or like the Stingray Beach, if you're going to Grand Cayman, something like that, Maybe don't book anything with a set time. So do some research, see what you can access by just walking up to a booth when you get off the ship. Things like that. You're probably also not going snorkeling or snorkeling with the stingrays or anything like that if you have a toddler getting off the ship with you. So, but you know what I mean. Don't do anything timed because you might miss it and you don't want to do that. Also allow for plenty of time to get back on the ship just in case something goes awry, okay? You don't want to be the person missing the ship. And so they tell you when you book excursions through the cruise line that they won't leave you. That they won't, if you booked through them and your shore excursion is late getting back, they're not going to leave you. The ship's not going to depart without you. If you go on your own, technically you run that risk. I don't think I've ever heard of anyone that wasn't like severely intoxicated. I'm in a lot of like online forums and did a lot of research for both my honeymoon cruise and this cruise. And the only times this happened was when people were severely intoxicated or like they committed a crime or something. So honestly, the chances of that are low, but do remember to allow yourself plenty of time to get back on the ship, okay? You don't want to be that person. But the best thing about cruising with a toddler, about any cruise, any destination, any ship, will be all of the cooking, all of the dishes, the cleaning is taken care of for you. It's great. Like, if I could just pay, like the ship doesn't even have to go anywhere. I would just get on the ship and like be parked at the dock for a week and just having the activities on the ship, like the adult activities. Honestly, even without that, just like having dinner cooked, cleaned, served to me. You can pay for your laundry to be done. They come and clean your room. They clean the bathrooms. They watch your kid. It's $6. Like, it's great. It doesn't matter what you do. That is the best part, right? So if you go to a hotel, they'll clean the room, but you have to go to restaurants. Even if you are, or if you're staying in an Airbnb, you have to clean things yourselves, right? So that aspect of taking a cruise in general, whether you have a toddler, whether you're by yourself, whatever, that's totally the best part. Like, that is hands down. That was the best part of our all-inclusive trip to Jamaica, which was an adults only all-inclusive. So there are other options for all-inclusives, but hands down the best part of an all-inclusive is just showing up to dinner, being fed, all of the cleaning being taken care of. It's amazing. And we had really amazing servers. So the way it works on the cruises is you have the same table, the same servers every night. They get to know you. They were amazing with my daughter. She even like choked and threw up one night. So she didn't fully choke, but she threw up because she was gagging on something, and they were really great with it. They entertained her, but also this goes back to if you were able to travel with a group, if you bring grandparents, they can help entertain the kiddo while you're trying to eat. Or you can choose every night to drop your kid off for an hour, pay for that daycare, and go eat dinner quietly and not bring them. That is totally an option, which we might take another short cruise and do that. We live really close to the cruise port in Galveston. It's like an hour and a half away, and I am tempted because that truly was the best. It was so relaxing. That was like, again, we could have not gotten off the ship at all and it would have been great. So if you have any further questions about pros and cons and tips for cruising with a toddler, leave me a comment. Follow me on Instagram for all of my family travel, like background info, behind the scenes stuff. We are going to be flying again in 4 weeks. No, less than that. When this is posted, it should be 3 weeks. 3 weeks from the day it's posted. So I'll be sharing how that goes. Watch my other videos about flying with a toddler. I have a video about our horror stories and what went wrong. I will link those as well. So those are definitely important to watch. And then one other major tip for cruising in general, but definitely when you are cruising with kids. If you are flying somewhere, if you were not driving in to the cruise port, if you were flying in and then getting on a cruise, you must fly in the day before. You must. I say this in my video about the horror stories. You have to fly in the day before. Just do it. If your flight gets delayed, if it gets canceled, you could miss your cruise. You don't want to do that. We were on a flight with people going to Florida to visit family last year, where they told everyone like our flight had no, their previous connection, they had missed their connection. And so they were on our flight instead. They were rebooked onto our flight and they were about to miss their cruise. So when we landed, they were like, nobody else get off. Please let this family off so they don't miss their cruise. But if they had flown in the day before and gotten a hotel, which I know adds to your budget for it, okay? Budget for a hotel the night before you embark, okay? Just do it. It'll save you so much stress when traveling with a little one. Yeah, just do it. Especially with the way airlines have been lately. All the craziness, just fly in the day before. All right? So that is probably the biggest tip from this entire video. And also, in general, take the trip. Take the trip with your little one. Even if they don't remember, you will, and that matters too. Like, your memories matter. And seeing them enjoy life, just enjoying seeing and doing new things, that is so fun. It does not matter if they remember, okay? Take the trip.